So he went into their synagogues, preaching and driving out demons throughout the whole of Galilee.
Dear brothers, dear Mary, the texts we chose invite us to set our eyes on two main themes and to open our hearts on two important subjects: meditation and migration. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus went to a deserted place, and there he prayed. The days before, he had been very busy with healing Peter's mother-in-law. He met many people who were possessed by evil spirits and healed the sick. He traveled from one village to another, from one encounter to another. Now he needed silence, stillness, and solitude. He needed a framework to meet his Father in heaven. Jesus was longing for prayer and meditation. During his meditation, he brought himself with his own wounded heart, his troubled mind, the suffering of the people, and the many questions about the world into a new harmony. This harmony was given to him by a deep meditation, in a way that his Father in heaven could gently touch his heart and calm his troubled mind. Shortly after that night, Jesus set off for Capernaum, where he healed a paralyzed man. If we have a quick look at the structure and the dynamic of Jesus' life, Jesus healed, he meditated profoundly, and he was on his way like an itinerant to heal again. In that respect, he was walking in the steps of his ancestor Abraham. When Abraham, a migrant from Ur in Chaldea, met the three men, he was already an old man, and he and his wife Sarah were childless. But Abraham had a deep trust in God. He prayed and he meditated all his life. In a way, Abraham lived like us, like you. Abraham reminds us of the situation we, the sons of Father Leo de Hong, find very often in our own context. Abraham was a monotheist in a pagan society. Many of you live in a society where secularism and atheism are moving forward. Some of you live in a society where Christians are threatened and persecuted. Abraham invites us to do as he did, spread the name of God wherever he traveled. Abraham saw himself on a mission of God. It seems that the purpose of the tree he planted, the grove, was to provide hospitality for travelers and migrants and to spread his belief in God throughout the ancient pagan world. Looking at Abraham with the eyes of Jesus, we can learn a lot to help our congregation of the priests of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Abraham not only had a vision, but he was able to communicate this vision to descendants living hundreds of generations later. Abraham had a strong sense of justice and cared for people. He was the first person to tithe his possessions. Abraham was extremely hospitable to strangers. On one hot day, he was sitting at his tent's entrance and noticed 3 strangers. He ran towards them and invited them to come over to his home and wash their feet and eat a morsel of bread. In actuality, he provided them with freshly baked bread, curd and milk, and a tender calf. Moreover, Abraham stood over them and acted as host and waiter. Abraham was an elderly man, yet the Bible states, and Abraham hastened to the tent, or Abraham ran to the cattle. Abraham and Sarah were childless, and both of them suffered for not having children. Their generosity, their strong sense of hospitality and justice changed it all. 1 year after the visit of the 3 men, Sarah was pregnant with Isaac. What do Jesus and Abraham teach us at the beginning of this major superiors meeting? I'd say, as sons of Father Leo de Hong, we need a strong spirituality. We have to develop our devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. We need time for silence and solitude, for stillness and prayer. We need a deserted place to meditate on the beauty of God's creation, and we need a strong sense of meditation. In concrete, every one of us is in need of a spiritual director, of spiritual guidance, of someone who advises us, who helps us to set out on the road of God, to God. We need, as our Holy Father Pope Francis says, we need a missionary mysticism. And Pope Francis again, he says, the missionary has to be a contemplative in action. We need a personal and intimate friendship with the Lord. Besides meditation, we have to open ourselves to the world of migration. The phenomena of migration will challenge our church and our congregation in the 21st century. First of all, migration is not a problem. Migration is a challenge. We need migration. Without migration, we become closed in upon ourselves, in the narrow-minded world of our ideas, in the short-sighted vision of our lives. Meeting people, opening up our communities as Abraham and Sarah did, will enrich us and will bear fruit. However, Migration can cause a world of suffering as well. As priests of the Sacred Heart, we have to enter this world of pain. We have to enter this world of grief and sorrow. We stand by the side of the victims. As disciples of Jesus, we meet people who suffer from the loss of their homes, their countries. We listen to those who suffer from broken relationships. We see the rejected. Being open to margins of our societies means being open to the wounded heart of Jesus. Let us do then as Abraham and Jesus did. Let our hearts, our minds, and our actions be open for meditation and migration. Amen.